An atheist turned devout follower and worshipper of Shiva, also now writing books on him. Someone who wanted to be a historian but ended up becoming a banker instead. He has been called by many as India's literary pop star. Amish Tripathi, the author of books The Immortals of Meluha, The Secret of Nagas, and Sita, Warrior of Mithila, his latest, now joins us on tonight's episode where we are uncovering everything you need to know about careers in the world of publishing. Hello and welcome. You're watching Heads Up. Amish, a very warm welcome to you on the show. This is perhaps one question that many people would have asked you by now. You know, you grew up in a city like Rourkela, then moved on to Bombay, spent a lot of years in Bombay, then you also pursued banking from IIM Calcutta. How does all of this shape you, into the person you are today?
I lived in a very tiny place called Kansbahal, which was even outside of Rourkela. So I grew up in a very, very tiny place. Then initial schooling was in Tamil Nadu. My father's family is from UP, from Banaras. My mother's family is from Gwalior. And much of my high school, college life was in Mumbai, an MBA from IIM Calcutta. I think how this molded me is actually I experienced so much of India, in this great land of ours, this beautiful land of ours. So that obviously impacted me. And I saw even in those days I started learning that the same myths have different interpretations across. Also, I learnt a lot from my family, as you said rightly. My grandfather was a Pandit in Kashi. Both my parents are deeply religious. I grew up in that kind of background. That's how I learned much of what I know about mythology and spirituality.
All your books are on Hindu mythology. In fact, you also credit a lot of your success to the visit you made to a Shiva temple. But you were an atheist who turned into a devout worshipper. How did this spiritual transformation happen?
I should say I kind of returned to faith, because when I was young, I was obviously faithful. I turned into an atheist for 10-12 years when I was a teenager. And then writing the first book kind of brought me back to faith. And I should clarify, in the ancient Indian way, there's nothing wrong with being an atheist. Among the 9 major schools of philosophy in the ancient Indian way, one was clearly atheist, the Charvaks. They didn't believe in God, they didn't believe in the Vedas. Sankhyas and Mimamsas believed in the Vedas, but they didn't believe in God. And no one violently attacked them, how can you be an atheist? There would be debates, but that was the Indian way.
And writing is a lot of hard work. There's a constant back and forth, from your first idea, from your first written piece to when you come to the final product. What is the creative process of writing for you like? I mean, if you can just walk us through the creative process.
My books always start with a core philosophy. So the core philosophy at the heart of the Shiva trilogy is an answer to this question, what is evil? And the core philosophy at the heart of the Ramchandra series, of which Sign of Ikshvaku was the first part and Sita, Warrior of Mithila is the second part. It's a 5-book series. The core philosophy at the heart of the Ramchandra series is an answer to this question, what is an ideal society? And for both these questions, the answers aren't simple. They are nuanced, complicated answers. So that's how it begins for me, always with a philosophy. But then the story just emerges. I don't make plans. I don't make story flow charts. I don't do all that. I just write instinctively. I listen to music while writing, because music gets me into the mood, and I eat a lot of cream biscuits while writing.
So what do you think are some of the key skills an author needs to have to to have success?
When you're writing, just think about how you want to write a book that appeals to you. Whether it succeeds or not is a different matter. And you should write for yourself. You should write with the honesty of your heart. I always believe in one of the key things I tell everyone, that you want to be a good writer, you must be a good reader. And especially if you're writing historical, fantasy, mythological fiction as I write, your ratio of reading to writing should be 100:1.
How important do you think is it for an author to understand the reader's liking, the market trend? Because I believe that at some point of time it does dilute an author's individuality. What are your thoughts about it?
I feel very strongly against that. Look, if your purpose is to make money or be famous, there are other much easier routes. You don't need to be a writer. Writing is writing for your soul. Okay, so you don't think about what others will like, what they will not like, and then write. That's not the way to do it. You write what feels right to you. Chale na chale, wo Bhagwan ke upar hai.
There are several perceptions around being an author in India, right from the investment that goes into getting your books published to even finding a publisher. I mean, you yourself were 20 times rejected before you finally got The Immortals of Meluha published in 2010. How do you see, what are the kind of challenges that every author sort of goes through in this process?
Writing is a bit like the film world, a bit like the sports world. It is a high risk, high return game. Unlike banking, journalism, or any other, corporate profession as such, where everyone will make, good money and you will keep getting promotions, etc., etc. Unless you are a real, nincompoop, you will keep getting promotions. But in writing, film, sports, all these places, most of the people actually, and not just in India, across the world, most of the people don't even make a decent living. No one can predict it, because my book was rejected for a good reason by every publisher, because mythological fiction, that's how they classified my books, the genre that they classified in, wasn't working, it wasn't selling.
Amish, when you're writing for a living, does it sort of over time become a chore? I mean, is it always as joyful? And how do you keep yourself inspired? You keep yourself going.
I'll tell you what is a chore. This marketing phase is a chore. But writing, listen, it's a privilege, it's a blessing. Right. I get to enter a parallel universe which only I get to enter. No one else gets to enter. I record only 10-15% of what I see. Right. I love that universe. It's almost like a spiritual experience. I absolutely love it.
If you were to give out a piece of advice to everyone who's aspiring to become an author or a writer, or find a career in the world of publishing, what would that be?
I would suggest 3 things. One, when you write with the honesty of your heart. Don't think about whether the book will succeed or not. I find so many guys who are saying, no, I want to be a best-selling writer. ऐसे नहीं लिखा जाता है. You write for yourself. Whether it succeeds or not is up to fate. Whether the book will be a classic or not is up to time. The only true judge of a book is time. Which brings me to the second suggestion, that there is a minor problem of money. You have to pay the bills at the end of the month, and money can force you to compromise on your writing. So then have a job. There's no dishonor in having a job. The third suggestion I would give is, a publisher has the right to say that he will not back you, he or she will not back you with their money. That's fair. It's their business call. They do not have the right to shut your voice. If no one else backs you, the hell with it, you back yourself. Right. Correct? And self-publishing is a lot easier now than it was 10 years ago. When I self-published, you had to, publish a physical book, find distributors. It was expensive, it was difficult.
Coming down to understanding your views on something which is more relevant and which is more, current, topical, there are so many atrocities being carried out across the country in the name of religion. You being an author who is directly, linked with mythology and religion and things like that, what are your views on, whatever is happening in the country?
Often we forget the scale of our country. We have 1.25 billion people. There are more people in India than all of North America, all of Europe, all of Middle East, all of North Africa put together. We are more of a continent than a country. True. If you want to look at a country of this scale, you need to look at data, not a few incidents. Narratives should not be based on anecdotes. What does the data say? If you actually see religious violence as a proportion of our population, we are among the lowest in the world. Okay? And I know there's a lot of debate in the elite circles, in the public space, in TV studios, op-eds, Twitter. Right. But that does not represent India. There are many things we need to improve. The oppression of women, for example, more specifically female feticide. This is a problem that is troubling across the country, across religious groups, across caste groups. This is a massive problem. The problem of malnutrition, it's a very serious problem. 5 lakh children die every year, 500,000 die every year out of things like dysentery, yaar, loose motions, come on, correct? This is a serious problem. But religious violence, actually, if you see the data in India, it's minuscule.
There have been historians, several historians who have criticized how Hindu mythology, also a large part of Hindu mythology talks about casteist and sexist views. What do you think about that?
I've always said this, the best solution to ignorance is the sunlight of knowledge. And I would invite everyone to just read our ancient texts, not the medieval, late medieval texts, our ancient texts. We talked about men and women being treated as equals. Rig Veda, which is our oldest scripture, has hymns written by Rishikas, by women rishis. Just to give you a sense of perspective, rishis their status was even higher than kings in ancient India. They were the equivalents of the prophets and messiahs of the Abrahamic faiths. So we had women prophets, women messiahs. This is what our culture was like. We had women rulers. We had, in the historical age, Rudrama Devi, who was a Shudra Kakadiya queen, who used to lead her army into battle, Razia Sultan, the Bhopal Begum. We don't know enough of our ancient texts. In ancient scriptures, your status was not based on birth, it was based on your karma. The original Ramayana was written by Valmiki ji. He was not born a Brahmin, he was born a Shudra. In the Valmiki Ramayana, there is a rishi mentioned out there called Maharishi Satyakam Jabali. He was the officiating priest of Lord Ram. He used to do his yajnas, correct? His fire sacrifices.
Right.
He was the son of a single Shudra mother. He did not even know who his father's name was. And he was Lord Ram's officiating priest. He wrote the Jabali Upanishad. All we need to do, just read the ancient texts, that's it. I have said this repeatedly, it is a matter of deep regret that the liberals in India have not realized that our ancient culture is actually their biggest ally.
Well, that was a great conversation, Amish. Thank you so much for being with us on the show. And we do wish the latest book that you've written is also as successful as your previous ones. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.